once again, locationally, some of these Northeast pockets, maybe somewhere like Cleveland, you could get a single family property for 30, 40, 50K. Brian, how much house can I afford? I get this question 10 times a week from my new mentees. How much can I go out and do because I have 5,000 saved, 10,000 saved, 20,000, 30,000 or more? Some people have 100, 150,000. I'm going to break down how much house you can afford, and you're going to want to stick around to the end because I'm also going to tell you a strategy you can leverage to afford in unlimited properties, right? You can just tap into a gold mine of properties with this strategy using real estate knowledge that is little known but highly valuable. If you're new to the channel, like, comment, and subscribe. Leave that comment that says I subscribe. For everyone who leaves that comment, I'm going to send you instant access to my free real estate training. It'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer. So guys, let's get straight into it. Here's a new article that just dropped on investopedia.com. How to set a budget for your first home. So let's get into this and break down some of the knowledge you guys need. There's some really good information in here. So what you can buy and what you can afford are two different things. And you just want to keep that in mind. What you can buy and what you can afford are two different things. A lot of us get into real estate and we're looking at the competition. We're always looking at, you know, what the Joneses are doing, what your friends are doing, what your buddies doing. People are talking about different deals. You want to get a house that makes sense for you. Even if you're a developer and you're doing this as like a buy and hold strategy and you want to build cash flow, you may be better off starting with a smaller single family, learning how to do renovations, learning how to round those bases and deal with hard money lenders and deal with loans and construction loans and contractors, than going out and trying to do a 10-unit building on your first deal. Why? Because you can't afford it yet. And even if you have the capital to afford purchasing the deal, that doesn't mean you can afford the mistakes that come along with bigger deals. You'd rather get a smaller deal, make some mistakes on the smaller deal, and then apply that knowledge to the larger deal. So there's always this difference in what you can afford versus you know, what you're going to go out and buy. So when it comes to home buying, everyone knows the critical rule: don't purchase more house than you can afford. Budgeting for a home can be done, but what constitutes affordable will differ from one buyer to the next. As of the fourth quarter of 2021, the median sales price for a new home was nearly $361,700, which means that some folks pay a lot more than that and others a lot less. So if you're in, once again, locationally, some of these Northeast pockets, maybe somewhere like Cleveland, you could get a single family property for 30, 40, 50K. Same thing in Baltimore. If you're out in LA on the West Coast or in Arizona or in Miami, I mean, you might not be able to get a single family property for less than $500,000. So real estate is micro local. You want to invest in an area that allows your money to go further. And if you're looking for ways to invest out of town, definitely tap into my mentorship program. For those of you who don't know me, I've full gut renovated over 300 buy and hold, burst strategy deals, rental properties all across the country in the last 5 to 7 years. Most of that being out of town, at least 2 state lines away. So all of the systems I teach you are focused on how to do this out of town, because you got to put your money where it goes far. You can't, you know, do this in these overpriced markets. First-time home buyers tend to shop on the amount a lender is willing to advance them, not considering other expenses, and that can set them up for financial hardship and even potential foreclosure if they can't afford the monthly payment. So some key takeaways are: you want to set a home buying budget that involves more than just affording a monthly payment. So if you're going into this, once again, even as an investor, you want to look at your capital. Say if you had $30,000 or $40,000, that might be enough for you to go out and do a FHA house hack. But when you're doing that FHA house hack, you want to factor in the rental income coming in, but also these monthly expenses that will go beyond the mortgage. There's going to be property insurance. There might be property management fees. There might be vacancy and loss. There might be capital expenditures, like people are just wearing and tearing on this property. The heater blew out, the roof is leaking. Some of these things, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of extra capital on the side. Maybe another, what I tell people for a rental property as a landlord is, your biggest nightmare is the phone will ring and you're going to have, well, I mean, maybe your water line is the biggest nightmare, but you can insure that. Your water line, if that collapses, could be like 10, 12,000. But there are insurance providers out there that will insure your sewer line, your water line, in case that collapses. But in most instances, your biggest nightmare is that you get a phone call, the heater blew out, it's going to be $3,000 to fix it. And as long as you have a little bit of capital on the side to do that, you're going to be fine. If you don't, you're going to be in a deal where you're stressed out. Maybe you're putting it on credit cards and you're trying to collect it back in terms of rental income. And that's not really the way you want to invest. You want to invest comfortably. So start small. That's the fastest way to scale up, is by starting small, getting it right, and then scaling that system. So let's keep this thing flowing. Home ownership involves a variety of ongoing costs, including homeowners insurance, property taxes, and repair expenses. Property taxes is one of those things that can increase as well, especially if you're in some of these blue cities where, they're all about increasing taxes to kind of redivide the wealth a bit. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that, but just if you're in those cities, know that your property taxes could increase. I've seen this happen, where you get a tax assessment and they try to send you a bill that's literally thousands of dollars more per year than it was when you initially purchased the property. If you can make a 20% down payment on a home, you may not need private mortgage insurance. And if you have capital and you can, if you're doing like a house hack and you can put down 10 or even 20% down on a deal, it is better because you're going to collect more cash flow. But with that being said, there's a lower cash on cash return because you're putting more cash into the deal. So you have to look at, as an investor, how much money am I putting out into this deal, and how much money am I getting back in terms of cash flow? This is why the BRRRR strategy, how we teach people to invest in my 100 Keys Masterclass, is so powerful, because we show you how to leverage other people's money to the point where you don't have any money in your deal and you're still making rental income. You could be making like $1,000 a month off of a property that you don't have any money tied up into. And then what's your rate of return? It's infinite, right? It's an infinite cash on cash return because you have no cash in the deal. If you put down 3.5% on an FHA house hack, you'll have that 3.5% down, and then you'll get some rental income, and you can calculate the cash on cash return. If you go and put 20% down, clearly your cash on cash return number is going to be a little bit lower. So it's just something to think about. And, as mentioned, there are national home buying programs like the FHA or the VA if you're a veteran. These mortgages are designed to help first-time home buyers. So how can we calculate? I'm going to give you guys, just so you know, stick around to the end, because I'm going to give you a calculator that you can use to see how much you can afford with respect to this 28% rule. And that link is also in the description. So make sure you check out the description if you want to access this calculator. It's right on NerdWallet. They have a really cool calculator that we'll play with in just a few minutes. But the 28% rule, which we're all here for, is one of the easiest ways to calculate your home buying budget. It's the 28% rule. It dictates that your mortgage shouldn't be more than 28% of your gross income each month. The Federal Housing Administration, FHA, is a bit more generous, allowing consumers to spend as much as 31% of their gross income on a mortgage. But don't forget that if you have other debts, you must consider them in addition to the mortgage payment to determine how much you can genuinely afford. And we'll see a lot of this in the mortgage calculator that I give to you guys. How much you can afford with this stuff. Mortgage lenders look at a prospective borrower's debt to income ratio. This is something you need to be aware of, your debt to income ratio. And how is that calculated? Well, let's say your monthly mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, and your other expenses, like your monthly expenses, your monthly expenses, your cable bill, your phone bill, some of these other fixed expenses that are reoccurring, and it's just like the cost of living. So once you factor in all of those expenses, maybe that's another $1,000, your overall monthly financial obligations come to $2,000. Now, let's say you have a gross monthly income of $6,000. This will put your debt to income ratio at 33%, which may be too high. So this is how you can make sure that you're living within the realm of affordability, where you can live comfortably, meet your monthly budget, continue to save, and continue to put more money to the side in a separate account that can reach a threshold of maybe 10, 20,000, and then go back into more buy and hold real estate to break you free from the 9-to-5, which is what we're all about, right? So make sure you're following some of these rules This article is really good. I'm going to leave a link in the description for this article. It gets into things like primary mortgage insurance and how that can impact you. And what you want to think about with that is just making sure that you're putting down a decent amount of money. If you can put down 10% and you're planning on holding this property for 30 years, it can be worth it, right? Because it's going to lower your monthly fixed expenses, which means more cash in your pocket, more monthly cash flow that you can go out and spend. And that cash flow is very tax sensitive. So it's really good money. One thing they touch on here is buyers also need to set aside closing costs. So even if you have that pool of money, you want to set aside closing costs, which an easy rule of thumb in terms of closing costs on the buy side of a deal, you want to have at least like 5%. I would say 5%, at worst 8% in closing costs for that deal. So that's the percentage. If a property's selling for $500,000, you want to have 5 to maybe 8% of that factored in for closing costs, appraisal fees, property inspections, all of these things that go into closing. But also know there are down payment assistance programs out there. If you haven't heard of these down payment assistance programs that are out there, you need to check the video that I have. We have a video that breaks down the top 5 down payment assistance programs that are out there, and they will pay 100% of the closing costs in many instances. So you can take these closing costs and just kind of pass them on, pass the buck, and eliminate that cost from the equation, which allows you to potentially save more money to do another deal much sooner. So make sure you guys check out that video. If you don't know about down payment assistance programs, how you can qualify, what they look like, what they do, can you do a duplex? Yes, some of these will allow you to even purchase a duplex with that down payment assistance program, so you can still generate cash flow. So that's something you guys definitely need to tap into. If you're enjoying the content, like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment that says I subscribe so I can send you guys that free training, and share this video with somebody who you want to do well in the real estate game. If you have a friend, a buddy, and they're thinking about getting into the game, make sure you share the channel with them. I mean, this is really here to build up you guys' education. I already know all this stuff, and I love teaching it to you guys, but make sure you pass it along. That's the best thing you can do for other people. And here's the calculator for how much you can afford. So I just put in Philly, PA. We could do something like, how much can I afford in Boston? So I have my calculator here. We're saying I make gross $8,333 per month. And you can see, how much house you can afford within these areas. If we want to get down to that 28% rule, let me blow this up a little bit so you guys can see it even better. If we want to get into that 28% rule, we can get right down to it. We can get all the way up to 36%, which is kind of what NerdWallet is flexing between 28 and 36% as the edge of affordability. But I would say as close to 28% as possible, and it'll let you know what your monthly payment will be, how much house you can afford, and you can use this as a way of building a criteria for the type of house that you want to look into. If you're going to live in it, for sure, but even if you're going to do a buy and hold deal, you want to know what type of monthly payment you're getting. Of course, you're only going to buy this property as a buy and hold if you can generate cash flow. And if you guys want to learn more about the infinite rate of return, like the BRRRR strategy, where we buy properties for pennies on the dollar, we full gut renovate them, we refinance out of them, we put the tenants in place to generate the cash flow, we put the property management in place. All you have to do is click the link in the description to tap into my free training. It breaks all of it down for you. There's a link in the comment section that'll take you straight to that as well. And we even have a program for you guys who are busy, entrepreneurs, maybe you're business owners, and you're just like, Brian, build me a house. Just come on, man. Just build me the house. I know you can teach me all this stuff. I want to learn it all, but can you just build the house for me, tenant it for me, find it for me, property management it for me? Is there like a turnkey solution? We do have a turnkey solution. It's called the Boots on the Ground program. And that's where we do the soup to nuts. We find the deal, build it at cost without the GC markups. We renovate it full gut renovation style, tenant, property management in place. You refinance out, pull all your money out, and repeat that process if you want to do a hold. Or if you want to list it and do a little flip deal with it, try to make 50 to 100K on a flip, we'll help you to do that as well. So definitely, if you guys are interested in learning more advanced strategies, tap into the free training that I have for you. Leave the comment that says I subscribe so I can send you that other free training that I have for you for the I subscribers out there. And stay tapped into the channel. Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, signing off.